Hello, everyone. Before I will allow my guest, I'm still waiting for Pimpy. I just want to thank you all for support, for following me, for watching the videos, for liking the interviews and my guests. And to those who have Instagram account, I have Instagram. You can follow me. The link will be attached below. If you feel like doing some donations, I have PayPal link. My book also for sale is underneath. So yeah, so to all of you who have any interest in following me on Instagram, you can find me there. And Charlie's World GESARA Club, I'm also there as well. So let's wait for Pimpy and we will have another interview soon. Have a great day, guys. Here we go. Hello, Pimpy.
Hello, how are
Number
you?
4 today.
You're on a roll.
Hey. So Pimpy, first of all, I want to thank you. You know what? I want to thank you for mentioning me in Thanksgiving video, and literally, like, I teared up.
Oh, you didn't have to. I don't mind at all. I was trying to remember. There's a lot of people, a group of us, who have come together as a little community, and I just wanted to give a shout out to everybody. And of course, you're part of that family.
Thank you.
So I just wanted to say, happy holidays.
Yeah, it was really beautiful video, like really touching, like from the soul. So, I was thinking to update those who follow me, which a lot of those who follow me also follow you. So if they hear it twice, that's okay, because repetition is the mother of study.
Yeah.
So Pimpy, so here is the situation. I have a list, few things. Silver and gold recently went down a lot. Like it's like 1700 for below 1800 for gold today,
Yeah.
and like $22 for silver. I would like you to explain to us what's happening with this, all this manipulation, if you can.
So yeah, there's a couple of things I'm looking up as we speak. So 1788 is where gold is.
Yeah.
2264 is where silver is. So there's a couple of things. There is one is, of course, we all know it's being manipulated. The comics is getting pounded. It has been getting pounded, but there were a ton of new contracts that were coming due. So what's happening is if they beat the prices down like they did, then the contracts become worthless. You know what I mean? So that's just one thing. There's no loss there. But what is not being spoken about is this is why I tell people not to focus on what the market value is telling you that it is. And the reason for that is because that doesn't give you an actual picture of the truth. We know that these value of gold and silver is manipulated. That's not the true value. Today I just released this video. It should be up here in a few minutes. That Andy Chapman was saying it the best. Look, they're driving down the value of gold and silver. One, because the contracts are due in December, which I was speaking about anyways, and two, it's because the people who are in the know, the so-called people, the rich people, are trying to gobble up as much as possible. He made a point that comics is people are taking as much gold and silver off the comics in 1 month that they usually do in an entire year.
Wow.
So every year or every month they're taking off what they usually do in 1 year, and that's been going on for a while. I told you it's starting to get scarce. But he also said the same thing that I was talking about. He said, look, they're trying really hard to shake the tree, to scare speculators out of the market, to get them to part with their physical gold and silver. We're seeing that. But, like I said, we're not falling for it no more. Millennials are smart enough to invest into gold and silver, and they're not falling for these tricks. They know, everybody knows now, buy on the dip, don't sell, keep stacking. And the more we do that, and the more they realize they can't continue to manipulate the market to trick us, because it's going to affect you know, they're short contracts and it's going to cost them hundreds of millions of dollars. Eventually that ball is going to have to bounce, explode out of the water. You know, I always tell people it's like holding a ball underwater. Eventually you got to let it go.
So Pimpy, actually, like, perfect, because I wanted to also say, as you always mention this, that people should buy on the deep, and now this is actually pretty, you know, maybe not the lowest deep, but I think that this is significant deep to make this purchase. And before I forget, because Money Metals Exchange, they have this promo for the returning customers,
Yes.
right? So it's like, what is it, over $200? If you spend again, then you have $10 on them. If you mention, what is it, Peeps?
Yeah, Peeps, Peeps. I think that's funny. So they already have a sale going on because it's Christmas, and every year most metal companies start discounting their precious metals. So he just wanted to give, Money Metals wanted to give an additional just $10 for saying thank you for return buyers. So if you spend over $200 in precious metals, which most people do anyways, just put in promo code PEEPS, Peeps, and you'll get an additional $10 back, which is, again, that's on top of the discounts that they already have going on. And Money Metals.
So it's on the top of the discount. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, they already have sales going on. So this is just for, you know, my subscribers. And so it's not like a big deal, but it is. You know what I mean? That's what I say. Any money saved is money earned. And so, you know, that on top of what they already have going on, I was really grateful for that.
So Pimpy, how long do you think they will be playing with those prices of silver and gold? How long do you think this will go, to the end of the year, or it will end before the end of the year? What's your feeling about it?
Well, the December contracts they're done. They're I think here we'll know by Tuesday, because I think Tuesday is the deadline for what's going on with the December contract. So we'll get a real clear idea probably sometime at the end of next week or the week after that. You'll start to see what's happening with the precious metals prices. Keep in mind the volatility also in the market, both with cryptocurrencies as well as gold and silver. A lot of it also has to do with the uncertainty, what's going on with our elections. That affects everything as well. But either way, for precious metals, whatever president gets in there, we benefit regardless. It didn't stop the spending. People got to remember, you know, like, I'll give you a perfect example. People are like, with the economy crashing like it is, a safe haven is precious metals. Makes sense. So when you hear news about a vaccine, everybody's optimistic. And they go, oh, well, we're going to get the vaccine. We'll be back to normal here in no time. So there's no need to invest in safe haven investments like gold and silver. And so they fall for that and stop falling for the news, because you got to remember that this market was crashing long before there was a Rona, long before it, and they're still pumping out money. So that Rona didn't have nothing to do with it outside of just expediting what's going on. Look, buy more, buy on the dip. That's the best suggestion I can make. You won't regret it. You know, there's a lot of anticipation about what's really going on. Once Trump's in there for a second term, make no doubt about it, he's going to find a way to go back to some form of gold standard. That's his goal.
So Pimpy, I want to ask you this. If you can explain this to my viewers. You remember when I called you and I was like freaking out that it will be for silver, it will not be like the clock is showing, it will be less if they announce gold standard. Can you explain to those people who have like no idea, like literally I'm a newbie in this, and I know sometimes people like on your channel are watching me and they're like, she has no idea what she's talking about, because I'm still learning. So like
No, and that's why don't let that discourage you, because
no,
look,
I know, but
I'm not a professional neither. Let's just be honest. I'm you know, I'm not a financial advisor. That's, you know, I just been studying this market for a long time. So, you know, I might know a little bit more than your average Joe, but the truth of the matter is there are people out there who are true analysts, but I learn from them, and then I'm learning to pick up on things that the pros do. And again, I have probably.
But honestly, Pimpy, honestly, I tell you, there is like hundreds of people with like experience and whatever, but this is you who I listen to, because how you deliver this, it's very, I can understand this for someone who is like who is not in the subject. So like I told you before, like I'm very grateful for how you deliver this information, because There are people who had completely no idea about this stuff, and they
Well,
understand.
again, that's why I started doing it, because I realized that, people who are, they've never done this before. They never collected in gold and silver or invested before in their lives. When you start to listen to these experts talk, it can feel overwhelming and make you feel lost, and you have no idea what they're talking about. So basically, what I wanted to do was find a way to just simplify what they were saying. That's why a lot of times when you see me, playing somebody else's videos, I let them play out, and then I explain what they're saying, just so people who are not familiar with that type of lingo or that talk can follow along and understand. That's what I really want to do. I don't want anybody to be left out of this opportunity. I think it's a great opportunity. I think it's smart that people who've never started saving before start saving. We've never been taught that. So this is an opportunity in which I could say, look, let me just show you what they're saying. I'm going to explain it to you in a way that you'll understand. And now people who've never saved before in their lives are actually saving.
Yes.
But to go back to your talk about the debt clock, here's what's going on.
Yeah.
The debt clock, everybody, we believe, and even experts believe, that's the true value being reflected of gold and silver. Okay. So when we talk about the gold standard, we're talking about using precious metals to support the amount of money that we got out there, or support the amount of money in debt. So there's a formula that's taken into consideration, and this is how they gauge what the true value of precious metals should be. Now, having said that, there's a lot of scenarios in which you'll say, well, if 15% of the debt is supported by the gold standard, like only 15% is supported by gold, this would be the value. If it's 50%, this would be the value. If it's 100%, this would be the value. When me and you were talking, I was saying I felt, now I could be wrong, but I felt what they needed to do is probably do it in pretty good size increments. And the reason for that is when you make that type of change to anything that's an asset, it's going to affect the market somehow. So you don't want to cause a panic or cause a crash in the economy. If you move gold and silver, especially in too large of an increment, you can cause people to think, well, they must think the market's going to crash. You'll see people selling out their stocks trying to jump on precious metals. So you want to do it in increments and to see how the market reacts. You don't want to shock the market and trigger a crash.
What do you think they will start with? The price range for 1 ounce of silver. Do you feel like they will start with 700 or 400 or 1,000? What's your feeling?
So the first trigger level is at $2,500 gold and $35 silver. In other words, when it reaches that, it triggers normally. It would trigger a revaluing. It's when the government comes in and goes, okay, we need to nip this in the butt because the market's doing what it's supposed to do. And if it continues to do it on its own, it could cause a panic. So what you want to do is you come in and you revalue it. The reason why you revalue it is to slow the market from panicking and moving into gold and silver. So you put it up at such a level that people, instead of buying, will go, ooh, I just made a lot of profit. And what do? They start selling and they flood the market with precious metals. Do you see how that works? So as you're watching it go up, you're excited. But as it's climbing, people who are investors see this, they start to go, something's wrong. We need to move into precious metals. To keep that from happening, they do a revaluation, move it up to a level where people go, oh, I just made a lot of money. And they sell their precious metals. They flood the market, and then it causes it to calm down or the price to drop a little. Again, it's to keep the market from being flooded is what they're doing. So the first increment, if it reaches, I mean, there's a lot of speculation on where that could be, but the revaluation is, gold probably at $4,000 or $5,000 an ounce to stop that kind of rush. And you could see silver, man, the ranges are huge, anywhere from $150 to $400 an ounce. But I would imagine that anybody that has their gold and silver right now would be more than thrilled to death if it made that type of jump without realizing that's nothing compared to what's going on. The bull run we're looking at right now is going to be longer than 10 years if you have the patience, or if you have enough to where every now and then, if you wanted to sell some of the inventory that you have without selling it all, you know, you could sell some of it, get a nice chunk of change back to help you deal with anything you need to deal with.
Yeah.
But for a lot of us, we have a lot of it, so we can be patient to see where it takes us 10 years from now.
So as I understand, and I just want to ask you, if we have like a time frame map, imagine this, and they start, let's say, $35 for 1 ounce of silver, then it will go up to, let's say, 400, then it will rise pretty quickly to 750, then it will go to like 1,000, 1,200 and up. What is the factor that determines the space in between $35 and $400? Like, if you can explain, like, what is this, like, we talking, can we measure this in time as far as months?
It's hard to say, and here's why. It just depends on the market's response to this kind of climb. How, like I said, the first revaluing, always their purpose is to stop or slow down the rush to precious metals without, you know, and also keep people from panicking and selling stocks and bonds. You have to do it at such a level where you're hoping people are going, good, I just made a pretty good profit, and they want to sell their precious metals. But something tells me you might get some people who do that in the beginning, but the people who are becoming wise, who are paying attention, I don't think they're going to fall for this. I think you're going to see some go back on the market. So once that first revaluation happens, it really just depends on how that affects the stock market. And if people are going, look, I'm happy with this gain on my gold and silver, therefore I'm selling it back, and it floods the market with now precious metals. So really, there's a lot of factors that are involved in this type of stuff. It's hard to say, but eventually what will happen is, even with an increment, it might slow it down or it might stop it for a period of time, but it won't last long as people are really wising up to the fact that gold and silver is being manipulated. The value is really undervalued. And if they just hang on a little bit more, they'll get even more back for their investment.
So, you know, it's when you're talking about this Pimpy, like, I really can see this. Like, I'm telling you, like, amazing. You could be like the best teacher of truly everything. So no, truly, like, you have a gift. Not many people have this gift. So
I appreciate that.
So I see this like this. It's almost like an invitation to pull this precious metals out of the population. So let's say they announce certain amount, and then they are watching how people react. And if people don't part with their precious metals, then they're like, okay, let's raise it up a little bit more. So it's more tempting. So that's how I see this. Like, they almost, and the markets and everything, like, they're actually trying to tempt people to, like you're saying, get rid of gold and silver.
Well, that's part of it. Now,
Yeah.
what it is they want to entice amateurs, speculators, into parting with their gold and silver. So that's part of the reason. But the other part is to stop a flood of people moving out of riskier investments like stocks. You know what I mean? So they go, if gold and silver, like it was in summertime, everybody just kept climbing up, and you're starting to see the markets go down. They had to manipulate the markets. They had to do that because people kept investing in it. And then all of a sudden, you seen a serious drop. Well, it took a record number of selling shorts. Shorts are when people are saying that we don't think the value is going to go up. We think it's going to go down. They had to sell a record number of these short contracts just to stop the market because it was doing what it should be doing naturally, and that is go up in natural response to the market and our economic situation due to the Rona. So again, yeah, it is to entice newbies or speculators to part with
Yeah.
their physical holdings. That's part of it, but the other part is to stop the rush from riskier investments into precious metals and get them to move from precious metals back into riskier investments. So what determines the next leap is, was it successful? Was it high enough? Did enough people part with their precious metals that they're selling it, that it'll drive the value down a little bit? Are they still rushing out of riskier investments? You know, that's what you want to look for. That's a big part of, you know, the determination.
So Pimpy, now, when, like, how is this connected with revaluation of foreign currencies? Because if this will come to the point when there is golden standard and there are, I mean, talking all around the world for the trading purposes, like Trump always says, like this is the fair trading. If there is not such a big discrepancy between the currencies. So do you think that revaluation, it will be very much connected also with the value of gold and silver?
Well, yeah, anytime you change or revalue uh, gold and silver, it affects everybody's currency because most people or most countries, not all, of course, but most countries have are holding on to gold and some silver, but they're holding on to it, and that's part of the assets that help determine the value of the currencies. So when there's a change in value of gold, it helps strengthen the currency because the currency is supported in most cases by gold. That's why the gold standard is something that a lot of countries would benefit from. That would put us on a level playing field because, again, free trade, gold standard, you're probably looking at a one-for-one exchange is what you would want in order for it to be a fair market, unmanipulated market on foreign currencies, of course. So any change in silver by a large amount affects everybody's currency in a positive way. Yeah.
You know what I want to ask you? I don't talk about this much because it's not really something that, like, I always mention this, I don't resonate with this, but I would like to ask you about this. So the cryptocurrencies, this is a very controversial subject for many people, and some people love it and they argue, and Bitcoin, no Bitcoin. I don't feel like this is a safe place. It's just my opinion. I know that I might have like the, you know, opposition to it. People will say, oh, you don't know. I just, like I say, tangible is tangible and is not controlled by government. Like, I mean, they manipulate now, but when you have silver and gold, it's different. Pimpy, how you feel with those cryptocurrencies? Like, do you have a feeling that they might actually create completely new form of crypto that doesn't exist now, and all of those that are now? Because again, like the Bitcoin, like I don't really listen much, but I hear you when you say like it went up like crazy and then it was like recently drop a little bit down again. Can you
Yeah,
say?
by 30%. That's not a
Right,
little. That's a huge drop.
right.
So, I mean, look, I'm not a fan of cryptocurrencies. I do invest in cryptocurrencies because I believe there's a window of opportunity in which we could benefit from it, and I think we're in that window right now. Having said that, look, it just depends on what you believe. If we get pushed into this so-called Great Reset, you know, they're already forcing central banks everywhere to create their own form of a cryptocurrency, their own central bank cryptocurrency. And this is, again, controlled by the bankers. There's no way in God's green earth they're going to allow any cryptocurrencies to compete with those. It's just not going to happen. You know, right now they're just using it, in my opinion, to, you know, indoctrinate people into understanding, learning, and using cryptocurrencies in the first place. But eventually, what you'll see is excuses will be made, laws will be changed, regulations will come in, and it'll start lowering the number of cryptocurrencies that are out there to eventually they just get rid of them. And we are all forced to use the central bank's version of a cryptocurrencies. Like I tell people, look, there's no technology, anything that's disruptive
Yeah.
technology like cryptocurrency is, before it's even introduced to the public, it's already been invented, tried, beat up, went through They know every ins and outs the government does before it's introduced to the public. And it is introduced in different ways. And that's how cryptocurrencies were introduced. So yeah, they already know
But
what they need to do
sorry to interrupt you, but what if Trump gets, like, I know okay, second term, Trump second term. How is crypto looking in your opinion with Trump's second term?
Well, Judy Sheldon is, of course, he's trying to get her into the Federal Reserve. She's not the only one. People forget there's a male. I think his name is Wheaton. People forget about this guy. He's another guy. He's just not talked about as much. But he wants to get them in there. He wants to get them nominated and put in there. But she's a fan of going back to the gold standard. But even she said, look, maybe not the gold standard in the old traditional way, but a gold standard in which cryptocurrency is part of this new gold standard. In other words, we can use cryptocurrencies, but you're also able to cash them in and receive a asset-backed currency or gold-backed currency in exchange. See, I would support that. You know what I mean? I don't want a 100% digital currency because, do you really trust your government?
No, and that's so it will still exist, but it will not be the main currency.
No, it would be a combination of the two, and that's, to me, I support that. You want to decentralize cryptocurrencies. If that's the case, well, then I could see where something like, they were talking about XRP. XRP is mentioned a lot as the moving into more of a financial institutional use where it gets to a $1 level and banks would use it back and forth amongst each other to do commercial transactions. That's been mentioned a lot. Bitcoin would probably be something, a store of value, most likely held by your, these hedge funds and these richer people. So you can benefit from holding on to Bitcoin, because if that's the case, well, you can only imagine that it's going to go up in value, and that value is going to be supported by a determined value between the powers that be. They will determine a fixed rate, in my opinion, and say, look, this will be an asset. Now, there's nothing to support it outside of what they say the value is. But there are, in my opinion, for blockchain technology, there are different tokens that are created that would have different functions that I like. You know what I mean? Energy tokens, these are good. I like the energy cryptocurrency, although I'm not invested in it. EOS, creating asset tokens so that you're not using a lot of paper. In other words, if I want to sell my house, it's created into a token, and on there's all the information that's needed to purchase the house, and someone sees my house and they like it, they could purchase the token. And
it's actually very cool.
Yeah, no, it's out there though. It is. So you can do the same thing with your car and everything else. So it just makes it very convenient. It cuts out the middle person. You know what I mean? You just pay a small fee. Once your token is sold, it's like a form of a escrow. The asset is gone. You receive the money. They receive the asset. There's no middle person. So there is, in my opinion, a use for cryptocurrencies, but it just depends on who's controlling this. I don't like this whole great reset. I don't trust what's going on. I don't trust that at all. To me, it's criminalizing it. But, look, people who own cryptocurrencies, if you voted for Biden, you really just shot yourself in the foot. The Obama administration was not a fan of it. Yellen, the person he wants to run Treasury, she can't stand it and she wants to outlaw it. So congratulations. They will find an excuse. They want to go into the Great Reset. What are they going to do? They're going to get rid of all these other cryptocurrencies and move everybody into the central bank cryptocurrency. Now, I say that in one of my videos, and crypto fanatics, man, they act like I slapped their mama in the face. I was like, calm down, man. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I see, like they get very emotional.
Yeah, they do, because they believe in that. They believe in that investment like I do gold and silver. But, again, everybody has their opinions about it. What I'm saying is just pay attention to what's going on around you. You should know what the people are talking about.
Exactly, like you always say this, watch what they do, not what they say.
Yeah.
It's with everything. But you know what I want to ask you, Pimpy? Because today it's a little shorter interview. I have two more questions. First, I know I want to ask you, I was thinking, do you think in our lifetime, we actually will be able to witness that money is obsolete? Like there is no more money and we are actually living in reality it's just money doesn't exist. Do you think we will be able to experience this?
There was this thing called a Venus Project that came out in the 70s where people would never have to work and computers and robots would take care of all of our needs for us and people would just live peacefully and do what they need to do. So if you wanted to travel, you would be on a plane that's pilotless, you know what I mean, and driving in cars that have no driver. I mean, it's a Venus Project. It was in the 1970s and it sounded all kumbaya. I mean, I could see that scenario if it actually came true. Then you wouldn't need a currency, but people who work want to be rewarded for their efforts. So I can't see a cashless society ever. What are you going to get for your labor? There has to be an exchange of
service. If you exchange
for services, and services and goods. You're not going to get people out there who are going to farm for free just because they want to be nice and give food away. What are they going to get in exchange? You know what I mean? So when it comes to products, the cost to make the products, the labor that goes involved, it's kind of hard to picture a cashless society. It just is. You would have to be able to replace it with something that's acceptable. And again, that would just be another form of a type of currency if you think about it.
Yeah, I think it might take some time in few generations because it's really the mindset, to
It is, but again, you would have to have a valuable replacement for currency. What are you going to use as a form of trade, product and services,
I think they will create, like, people gonna create more communities that are more self-sustainable, and it will be almost like a form of exercising that new concept. I feel like it's gonna happen, And
if you get back to communities the way they used to be.
There's a doggy.
Yeah, that's Lizzie Booba.
Oh, hey, sweetie. Oh, she's so sweet.
She's getting old, but she's needy all the time. But when she sees me on the video, she always wants to sit on my lap. She's just being nosy. So, back in the olden days, what happened is, people, when society wasn't so big, you had villages of people. And so you had a type of bartering system. One person made corn, another person wheat, another person made the food, and, they would trade for services. So you had the people who were producers who would trade for labor. They need a house built, you know what I mean? That, there's something about that I absolutely love, because you want, communities to work together and not rely on our damn government. Let's just be honest. Families were closer.
It's collaboration.
You really had to know.
Yes, it's collaboration, and you bring what you can. But there's one.
But can we do it on such a large scale? Is it possible? Sure, it is. But again, unfortunately, you have a pretty large group of people who are just lazy. They have nothing to contribute. And that's where the unbalance comes in. Now, don't get me wrong. You have people who are not capable. You have people who are disabled, probably can't contribute, or people who are sick, they can't contribute. Then as a community, we should provide for them, okay? But we should do it on our own, not be forced to do it, if that makes sense. So we take care of the people in need. But if you see, one person sitting around all day chewing on a wheat stick, napping underneath the tree, well, I don't want to be responsible for that person. Everybody has to kick in. And so again, with such large cities, it's really hard to have that type of community because it's just unbalanced at the moment. Actually, and the government is trying to make it worse.
Actually, I just had an image when you said it. I saw this person with a stick. But that would be good for, like, making other laugh. Like a human.
It has a hat over their eyes and they're napping underneath the tree.
Comedian with a stick, But
barefooted with their shorts hiked up, or they're floods for pants, dirty feet, but
like Happy Joe. So I was thinking, if as long as there is no greed and like a power hungry, because remember this movie The Beach with Leonardo DiCaprio?
Yeah, I love it.
Like a paradise, but it was far away from paradise. And I think about it when people create those communities, as long as you don't want to control this group and you are not greedy and you're like power hungry, because those are those human emotions that if they are not balanced, they are not like, from the upbringing very often, it's a lot of trauma in people. If they don't heal it, it comes out in later on in life, but that's a different topic. Pimpy.
No, that's actually, you actually chose, that's a good example. Actually, for people who have not seen a movie, I highly recommend it. It is Leonardo DiCaprio in a
Yeah, the
movie
beach.
called Beach.
Yeah.
And they've created this community that work together, but they also, as a community, judged and hashed out the punishments when necessary. That's how it should be, as a community together, deciding, their own laws. As long as they're not irrational. You don't want to single out a specific type of person or a specific group of people because you don't like them. As long as it's fair and balanced, then that's what you want. But that movie is actually a pretty good example. They had rules, people followed them, they lived peacefully, they played volleyball, they fished, and they helped one another. It was good. But you also notice one thing: they still needed the outside world. They would have to go in to the to society to get supplies.
Yep.
So you see, they couldn't cut it off 100%.
Yep.
So the ideal situation is to be able to go self-sufficient without the need of having to go into these bigger communities and these cities again.
You know what is sad about this movie? Because I remember it was like many years ago. They recorded this on this Thai island called Pipi, and that island was not so busy before this movie. And after this movie came out, like tourists, like thousands and thousands of people, and again, it's like affecting the nature and environment. So the outcome of it wasn't really that good, because there was a lot of like after tourists is not always so good if it's too many people. But
well, yeah, but you know what? Then that's when you again, you take control of the situation. You see it, it's great. People want to enjoy it. But then what do you do if it starts affecting the eco balance? And you just stop people from going. You outlaw it for a little while until people forget about it and just let it go back to its natural habitat. And then again, open it up to people. But I want to make a big announcement. You just stop outlawing it, and it goes back to its normal traffic.
But look, you know what? I'm just talking to you, and like I'm downloading things. You know what? Look at this, Pimpy. All those lockdowns, all this BS with the Rona. What it did to people, it made them leave the big cities. More and more people are leaving those big cities, and I think ultimately this is more balanced for the earth, that we will go back more to the nature and appreciate the simple life, like even in the countryside, and animals, and how much we actually have. Everything is provided by the nature, and plants and all of this. I'm like, do we really need all the fancy things and all of this that was like programmed into us? Like, we're talking money, but then you have visions with this money, like what good you're gonna do in the future. This is not just, oh, I will be rich and like on the yachts all the time. You might.
Yeah, well, I mean, the rich people are always going to be rich and always going to have that, and they can care less what goes on because they have enough money to help them get through times like this. But again, if you go onto YouTube, there's this a couple guys that call themselves minimalists. And so what they do is they teach people to live by the bare essentials. Like, why do you need all this stuff?
Yep.
This guy sold this fancy house he was living in by himself, and he bought this studio apartment. And he has one bowl, one dish, one set of silverware, one cup. He has, 3 business outfits or 5 business outfits, and 3 clothes for when he's out and about. People, this need to buy more than you need doesn't allow you to save properly. So they teach people how to get by. But again, to be, I think the Rona, this pandemic, is backfiring on what they hope to accomplish. People now are more woke before because they're stuck at home. And what do? They get bored and they go on to YouTube and they hear people like us and they find out the truth and they start researching.
Yes.
They're going, hey, wait a minute. We've been lied to. They're censoring. They're blocking. This is the truth now. And because of that, you're starting to see people rise up against governments. I mean, there's right now uprisings all over the place.
Yes.
And it's just a matter of time where they say, we've had enough.
Yes.
And this is the great reset, losing its grip on what they want to accomplish.
And that's the beauty about it, Pimpy. So I have one more question for you. You know what it is? It was several months ago. You had this incredible video. I was really like, wow, like your knowledge about it. You were talking about Q mentioned in the Bible. And I want to ask you, that Q, was it one of the prophets? Was it one of the disciples? Can you, because I want to go back, I want to find this video and attach below so people can watch it.
Yeah, it's called the Gospel of Q. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of controversy about it because of supposedly when it was discovered, when it was found. So, but I think it's I don't know how you could really put it into words, other than the fact that people
How
should
did
probably
you
look
came,
into it.
but how did you come across this, Pimpy? Like, how was it? Like, how did
Well,
you?
I've heard about it before, and I just, that's what happens a lot of times. I hear about things, and then I forget about them, and then something will come up, and I go, oh, yeah, but somebody else had started talking about the Q Gospels, and I go, I remember that, and I just went back and read it up on it a little bit, and I started laughing. I go, wow, this is crazy. So I did a video on it, but again, it's just one of those things in my lifetime I've come across several things, and I'll forget about them until later on.
This gospel is like hidden, or like how we find it?
No, I mean you could just Google, Q the gospel, and you should be able to find it. Q the gospel of Q. I think I put the link down underneath the video. So if you want to find a video, it's real easy. If you go through all my videos, just look for the one that has Q gospel on it.
Yes.
It has a Q over gospel, and it's easy to find. But again, there's mixed emotions. I mean, really religious people have issues whenever you start talking about different types of gospels. They get offended by it. But again, people should be open-minded to everything. It should be questioning everything. This allows you to develop and grow, in my opinion, as a human being, is to be open-minded and listen to everything. And then just, again, just pray before you do it, and just trust that, you're guided to what's right and what's wrong. So you get what do you call that? A form of, I can't think of the word right now. When God tells you this is right or this is wrong, there's a word for it.
If it's like if it resonates, and if it's the true, if it's not, I know what you mean, like hijacked by other forces.
Yeah, there's you're able to discernment when it comes in.
Discernment.
So you're able to discern what is BS and what is real. But again, unless you have your own personal strong relationship with God, you won't be able to do that.
Yes.
You could be misled. So it's important that you establish a relationship with God.
But like Bible, I have to really go into study more about this, especially with knowing what I'm unfolding right now and seeing things.
Yeah.
Because the Bible, I came across some time ago, I have to find this book. It was someone who was channeling a monk like in the Middle Age. Someone was channeling this monk, and that monk was actually hiding, like there was like a tunnel from the church underground, and he had like few other monks, and they were preserving the real Bible, like the original Bible.
The real teachings, yes.
Yes, they were preserving this from being stolen, because there was this sacred power and sacred energy, and those who were coming into power in the church, they wanted to, and they eventually, that's what happened. They
No, there's a real Jesus did right. They said he didn't, but they called them records back then. Jesus made a record. Well, what they're talking about is he wrote teachings, but the churches were against it. You got to understand. So this is what gets me. People, I say, well, explain this. When Jesus was alive, according to his story, the churches were not fans of his. As a matter of fact, Jesus went in to destroy the churches. He didn't like what they were doing. He went to destroy them. And then all of a sudden, they killed Jesus. And now they're like, oh, Jesus was this great person. Here's what he wanted you to know. These are the same people who said not to listen to him, and they killed him. But now all of a sudden they're telling you he's a great person and you should follow him. Does that make sense? So that's why I have an issue with man-made organized religions, and I have no faith in it. But Jesus wrote, and Jesus is really not his name. Jesus' real name is Emmanuel, or Emmanuel, but it's called Emmanuel. That's how you pronounce it, which is the God within you. He did write teachings. And what happened was, of course, after they killed him, one of the copies, and they thought it was the only copy, was taken by, Paul or Saul. And he took it and gave it to the church. And when they read it, they're like, hell no, we can't have this out there. You nuts? So they went and altered and changed a lot of things in there. They knew this. Jesus
Yes,
knew this before he
exactly.
died.
And
He can
Pimpy, you remember?
move around in time. And
Yeah,
Jesus went
yeah.
forward and saw what Paul did and came back to beat him with a stick and was mad at him because he knew Paul would pervert the teachings of Jesus Christ. But here's what people don't know. The real teachings are going to come out. They're out there still. They're hidden. But you have what's called, whether you believe in this or not, I mean, we have what's called the Brotherhood of the Tat. And the Brotherhood of the Tats, their goal, their job is to keep the true records of our origins, our beings, and everything else. They have this ability to keep from aging. They can age and die anytime they want, but they mastered their true teachings and their true abilities that we have, which are God-given gifts that people don't know about.
Yeah.
And so they are the true keepers of the truth. And they talked about a time when the truth would come out and people would not accept it at first because it's contrary to what we've been told, and they're going to struggle with it until they see what the truth is.
And you know, Pimpy, like Jesus, Yeshua, was part of the Essenes, and the teaching of Essenes are very beautiful. Like if you just go and study what the Essenes were teaching, and they were running away from this oppression, the same like the Magdalenes, like Mary Magdalene, like she's Mary, but she came from the Magdalenes. So there is so much beauty and truth in this. And, you know, I think what I'm just so eager to see when those true stories will be revealed to people.
I think if people, when you build a relationship with God and or Jesus and you talk to them every day like they're right next to you, eventually they start talking back because you learn how to focus. You learn how to listen. Right. So it's through that relationship you can ask questions and get answers. A lot of times I do. I find out things all the time. And sometimes I share them, sometimes I don't, because I know people, they're conditioned. They've been conditioned by what they read and what they've been taught in churches. And so, that's where that whole, cognitive dissonance comes in. They wouldn't believe the truth even if you told them, just because they've been told something different. And so they're going to struggle with the truth when it comes out. I mean, I think people would be surprised to find out that Mary Magdalene was not a prostitute. As a matter of fact, the fact that that's being shared hurts Jesus's feelings. He does not like that. He knows why they did it. They attacked her because,
she was powerful. She was one of the most
very powerful, very powerful. And the fact that they're not. Here's the fact that Jesus married her, that they had kids. People are not going to be happy with it when the truth comes out. They don't want to hear this because they thought that Jesus lived this celibate life, and that's not the truth. But it's been hidden from us, and as people start to learn the truth, they're going to struggle with it. They really are. And when you tell them the truth, what do they always say? Oh, that's the devil, that's the devil, that's the devil. Because again, the churches have learned to condition people to scare you into listening to the truth.
Yes.
And every time people will blast me in the comments, they don't want to hear that. You know what I mean? It's like when I tell people about there's magic's real. Even the Bible talks about it, but again.
But yesterday I posted on my Instagram stories. I had this for a while, but yesterday I felt like, oh, what the heck? I'm just going to post it. I grew up in Poland, which is very, very church-oriented, right? Like Christian, Roman Catholic, like Polish Pope years ago. Anyway, the image of Jesus, this image of Jesus in every church, on the paintings everywhere. And some time ago, I came across who this really is. It was son of one of the popes. That is
Christian Bagheera, the murderer and rapist.
And people still think that this is Jesus. And this whole, there were so many lies. I think for many people, it's just hard to absorb.
I think he was actually the son of a king who was a murderer and a rapist, and they forced the church to use his image is what it was. But again, there's all kinds of stories out there. So, what is the truth and what isn't? This is the whole thing I'm talking about. You have to have an open mind and just listen to it. And to trust your relationship with God will guide you in the right direction. But when I tell people that, and they go, well, if you believe that, then obviously your relationship's not with God, it's with the devil. I'm like, see, this is exactly what I'm talking about. just to automatically attack people just because you think one way and some people think another. This is exactly what happened to Jesus. He got attacked for thinking different and
Yes.
telling people the opposite of what their church taught him. So it's funny how they embrace the guy who's doing the very same thing, where he said, look, what they're saying is wrong, and this is what you do. And now people are like, oh, but if you do that, then it's, oh, yeah, the devil, the
Yes.
devil. But Jesus got persecuted for the same thing. You know what I mean? Working on the Sabbath, that's a no-no, But what did Jesus say? You're allowed to work on the Sabbath as long as what you're doing is for you. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things that Jesus did. He, in my opinion, was sent to abolish the church, not build it. He wanted people to, learn that your relationship should be directly with God, without the church, without the
And he
Bible.
always pointed within. He always pointed the kingdom is within. And it still.
Yeah, I mean that's one of these gospels I was reading was talking about when the disciples were walking with Jesus, and one of the disciples kept pointing up in the sky saying, when he passed away, he was going to be happy and look forward to being in heaven with the Father. And Jesus didn't say anything. He just grabbed his finger, pointed it back towards his chest, didn't say no words. And the guy was just staring at Jesus, and they started walking again, and he didn't say anything. And that drove me crazy when I first read it, because I didn't get it at first. He pointed back up in the sky again. He goes, and when I'm there to go be with the Father, Jesus grabbed his finger, pointed back at his chest, never said a dang word. It wasn't until I got older and I figured out what Jesus was saying. You don't have to wait to go be in heaven with God. God's already living with you. So you're already with God. You and God are one. That's what Jesus said. And when I figured it out, I was like, oh my, you know what I mean? So once you come to
It's
this
so
realization.
beautiful. It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful because, like, that this will never fail you. It's always there.
Yeah, I mean, if when I was younger, it was fun. When I got older, it was stressful to me. Once you learn how to tune in and you listen, I realized that, I didn't live the type of life that I should have been, and I just didn't want anybody telling me different. So I spent a lot of my time trying to drown out, the voice, and then, trying to get rid of it, because I don't know. It's I never felt worthy. So I think that's a feeling that a lot of people go through. Once you really realize the love and glory of God, then you start to realize that eventually you have to come around and tell yourself that, well, it doesn't make a difference what you think, whether or not you think you're worthy. It's the point that God knows you're worthy.
Yes.
Therefore, you have that relationship, and it could be overwhelming. It could be very emotional for somebody, and you realize that the entire Bible is riddled with people that are just sinful as can be, but are used as great icons in the Bible.
Yes, like God uses ordinary people to do extraordinary things.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, every icon in there is troubled. I mean, Saul murdered Christians and became Paul. King David lusted for a woman that he sent a husband out in battle, knowing he would get killed so he can have a wife. King Solomon had 300 wives and 700 concubines. I mean, the whole story is just riddled with some people that were, if they were alive today, nobody would ever think that they would be the icons that they are in the Bible. People would just outcast them. But you realize that they serve a purpose, and each story has a purpose.
Look, we are living in this incredible time. I mean, imagine all of this in our lifetime to come to the surface. I really believe, and to be exposed and to be presented. Not everyone will absorb it, but like for us to be able to witness, like those documents, this was all in Vatican.
Yeah. Well, what's really in the Vatican, I'm looking forward to it actually coming out. There's a book that the Queen has, I know about, and there's a book that the Vatican has. It's not meant for humans to read, specifically for a reason. And there's a lot of rumors on what this book is. So my thing is, if it's not meant for humans to read,
what is it?
I don't know. Actually, Leo Zagambi, when I heard about that rumor, I didn't give it much credence. I thought it was a rumor. But I actually heard Leo Zagambi talk about it. Now, he's a guy from the Illuminati, but he lived within the Vatican, and he talked about this book. And he said it's not meant for humans to read. So my thought is, one, if that's the case, is it in the language that can be read? If so, why is it kept from humans? And is it the actual real teachings of Jesus, and it's meant to be
Okay.
kept quiet
Okay.
until the time comes? So there's a lot of what ifs you could play with, but the books are real. And why the queen has one, I don't know. That goes like that rock that's underneath her chair. People don't notice there's a
I don't
stone.
know. Tell me, what is it? That's fascinating.
There's a stone that's underneath her
Throne?
chair.
Under her
Yeah,
throne?
underneath her chair, her real chair that she sits on, her throne.
Yeah.
And it's forbidden for people to touch it. Nobody knows why. You know, there's people that get in and they touch it. I don't know what it does to them, and I don't know what's the purpose behind it. But there's a significance about it. And she's it's, you know, it's the death penalty if you touch it. So
This could be, Pimpy, this could be from a different planet. I just felt this. Like it could.
yeah, I mean, it could be. It could be. Again, people don't want to know the truth. But if you go back to the Sumerian writings, the hieroglyphics that's on there, I mean, most of our Bible stories come from them. You know, people are saying that the Bible, we've only been here 6,000 years. That's not true. The hieroglyphics on the Sumerian tombs go back about 14,000 years, and their version of the same stories of the Bible predate Christianity by thousands of years. So if you go on there, it talks just about the story of Adam and Eve, and who Cain and Abel are. So, you know, the serpent, it wasn't a serpent, it was a Naki. They're the reptilian style aliens that were here that took us from our Neanderthal, which were like Bigfoot, you know, those style creatures, which is the origins of our who we were, and then crossed over. I mean, that's what the story says. And so it talks about the Anunnaki putting their seed into Eve along with Adam's, and so they had twins, which were Cain and Abel. Okay, yes. And then look what happened. There's where the Canaanites come out. That's why some people have reptilian in their brain. I mean, that story's crazy when you first hear it. But you know, why is those types of writing being hidden from us? Why aren't they telling us the truth? Let everybody read it and let them decide on their own.
This is fascinating. I mean, imagine we're gonna see this, Pimpy. We're gonna see this. Okay.
Well, it's out there now, but again, what happens, it just gets totally discredited as, you know, fake, or, you know, you're crazy, or, you know, if you believe that, then you're against the church and you're against God and you're evil and you're going to hell and all the other crap that they use to keep you from learning the truth.
But when they exposed the church, what church was really doing, then people will be ready to receive the truth.
No, I think the church is already exposing themselves as we see the actions of the Pope right now and the things that he's saying, you know, telling everybody to give into the Great Reset. That's really against God, because, you know, this thing is it's a socialist communist agenda. And you got to remember that the communists are atheists. So why the hell would the Pope be pushing people into this Great Reset? No, he's part of this whole, whether you believe it or not, this whole New World Order agenda. People need to research what this Great Reset is. And that's exactly what it is. It's a New World Order agenda. And so it's to get everybody to speak the same language, no different languages, sacrifice your culture and your beliefs, just be one way, be a robot is what they want. No religions, no beliefs, nothing that could cause you to think independently, that you'll challenge or rise up and revolt.
Yep.
I did a video last night showing people, look how crazy this whole agenda is. Spain had to sacrifice their own language. They're giving up Spanish. That's what these socialist communists,
they created
politicians told them to give up Spanish. Well, what the hell are they going to speak? That's their native language. Why would anybody agree to that?
But I think you remember a while ago, there was this language created, was called Esperanto, and they wanted the whole Europe to speak Esperanto. There was like a new language, and you know what? Some people were like learning that. They were like, oh, this will be our language now, Esperanto. And it just didn't happen. But they wanted this one language for a whole European continent.
Yeah, again, that's what's going to happen is you're trying to reduce the amount. This way, then, if you're trying to impersonate people and you have people that speak different languages, they could plot against you if you can't speak the same language. You know what I mean? Let's say I speak googly or whatever, you know what I mean? And there's three of us in prison and we speak googly. We could plot how to escape, but nobody else but us three know how to speak that language. That becomes a threat to a movement when you can speak a language that they don't understand. Therefore, you want to try to get as many people speaking the same language. so that you can understand everything that's being said and done. So again, you know, people with differences, the things that make us great is what is a threat to them.
Yep.
Our cultures, our
Yep.
belief systems, our languages, our independence, those types of things all are a threat to this agenda because people don't want to let them go. Because the things that make them unique, they don't want to let them go. And they want you to let them go because they think everybody should be the same. And so that's where the resistance coming in. But if your own government is trying to force you to do that, here's what I should say to people is this. If your own government is trying to force you to change your traditions and your cultures and your way of life, you need to get them the hell out of office. They should be celebrating our individualism and our beliefs, not trying to destroy them.
Yes.
A government that would try to destroy them is a government you don't want in power.
No. But I believe everything will be great. I believe we will have the gold standard. Trump will be re-elected.
Yep.
People will be healed with those med beds. Stuff will be exposed. People will wake up. A lot of healing will be needed for people, like emotional, spiritual healing. But we will go there in stages. I believe everything will be good because there are people like Pimpy. Pimpy has a
well, you know what's so great right now is watching just how, as much as the media tries so hard to destroy the image of Donald Trump, it just continues to backfire. I'm watching over in Japan right now. There's a pro-Trump rally going on. I saw one. Was it in
Hong Kong? In Hong Kong.
Yeah, Hong Kong. We know about it. I mean, they're everywhere. Not just they're happening now. There's pro-Trump rallies. These people are praying to God for Trump to be in his second term, and then they're expecting Trump to free everyone. Yeah. Not just the Americans.
Look, it's amazing because this is, I remember like how people were against the United States for so many years. They hated how the government was running, the wars, all of this was horrible. And now it's amazing because you see people with American flags like you show in your video. So beautiful because
he hasn't initiated no war. The first time since the 1970s a president hasn't initiated a war. He's ending a war. He's brokering peace in the Middle East, free trade agreements. These all benefit everybody. But the media don't want you to know about this. Look what he's done for black people. I mean, the First Step Act is, it fights what Joe Biden put in, which is a criminal bill. I mean, it's contrary to everything that they want from us. Trump's trying to free the people, get rid of the regulations, start new businesses, be more independent, get away from government, reduce the amount of government, no more wars. You have the opportunity zones. These are growing poor neighborhoods. You could benefit from it. All these things are happening, and the people are being lied to so much by the media that they're missing out on the greatest presidency this world has ever saw.
But I think Pimpy, he allowed this really to happen in a way. I am not saying I'm happy it's happening, but in a way, I am glad because they are digging the hole underneath them deeper and deeper and deeper. And
this is why they're trying to censor everything.
Yeah.
The more people rebel against the Rona, they try to hide it off the media. All the things that are negative about Biden, they try to hide that off the media. This company did this survey of Democrats saying, were you aware of this about Joe Biden? Out of 50,000 people, 6 out of every 10 people said, had they known about Biden's connection to China and what he did in the UK and his son's, illegal dealings, they would not have voted for Biden. So the media, in essence, what they did is it interfered in an election. And the fact that, social media platforms censored it, they interfered in an election. So as the truth still continues to push out, people learn, they start to embrace Trump more. And as they keep trying to lock him down, and Trump saying, you won't be locked down under my administration, the rest of the people are going, wait a minute, this is who we want to. There's signs out there that say, in Canada, we want Trump to be our leader. In the UK, we want Trump to be our leader. Is this possible? Yeah. Once he gets in their second term, I told everybody the first term was about setting everything up, exposing everything, and him knowing what he needs to do to fix it. We need to learn and let these people expose their true colors, like Chris Christie, the freaking traitor, Fox News, Geraldo Rivera. These people who all of a sudden are like, you know, town Trump, just give in, just concede. No, what? Are you nuts? When we blatantly and obviously see the most rigged election we've ever seen, and you people want to show your asses like this, go ahead, do that. And then you see the Democrats talking about keeping a list of Trump supporters that they want to have erased. What are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
This is exactly what Hitler did.
Mm-hmm.
They say, let's unite, let's be friendly, but they kept the list and they went out and killed the people that they thought would be a threat to them. So don't be, you know, this is all being exposed. So when Trump's in there, he's going to unleash,
Yes.
oh my God, holy hell on
Pimpy,
everybody.
I really, truly tell you, and for me, I see this as a huge divine plan. This is divine plan. This is on such a scale. I'm talking out of this planet, because this is the end of something that was taking place for thousands of years.
Well, you know, I think it was whether people like him or not. Kim Clement said, you know, he did the prophet, and I like what he had to say.
Me too.
He said that, you know, this man he would put in the office would be a trumpet, and this man's name would be in gold, and this man would not go in a religious man, but he would be known as, after he's baptized in the White House, he'd be known as a praying president. And the funny thing is, Trump is called the praying president, and people go, they don't want to believe it because they want to think about all the negative things about him, but he does. He prays so many times that it drives his staff crazy. But what they also said is that, you know, this president would come in and implement God's plan, and the plan is so unique that people would finally sit back and go, this could not have happened the way it did unless it was a plan that truly came from God.
Yes.
So we're seeing that happen. We're thinking, how could all these things are being exposed, all these things are being shown to us, all these people that are evil, we now can identify God's plan is working just fine. And so now the repercussions are coming in. Now it's time to put Trump back in there, and now it's time to clean up all the dirt off our planet.
I think this is the year of full exposure, and the next year will be year of restructuring and creating new ways. That's how I feel. So
you're going to see people around the world start to really rise up against their governments. No more. They're not tolerating this. I feel sorry for my brothers and sisters over there in Australia. I see the hell that they're going through. I do. My heart, it hurts from. And I'm watching these videos, you know, and I watch their news a lot. And then they're also scared about, now China's messing with them. But I see all this and I just say, hang tight. Okay, it isn't just there. It's everywhere. Hang tight. Help is coming. Just have faith. But when you pray, don't stop praying. And when you pray, you got to see the ending already. When you pray, see Trump being sworn in a second time. See the changes. See the happy people. See the pandemic going away. See those criminals being exposed, tried, and imprisoned. See it already done when you pray, because that's your co-creating ability given to you by God. So use it and help. I keep telling people, look, it's one thing to pray to God and you know God's going to do something, but he doesn't expect for us to sit around on our asses doing nothing. What did God say? The kingdom has no room for cowards. Stand up and fight. So people fight one way or another, whether you're out there sharing information like we're doing, praying. If you're praying, then pray the right way, not the wrong way. Okay, see the ending before it happens. Think positive. Great things are going to happen.
That's why I love Pimpy, everyone. I love Pimpy. Such a blessing, Pimpy. Seriously, where people can find you now, because a lot of things has changed.
I mean, I'm still on YouTube. They just demonetized my whole platform
Twitter,
for now. But
Twitter, YouTube.
Twitter, I'm on Twitter. The links will be down below. But Twitter, MeWe, Parler, of course, everybody's on Parlers.
Okay, what is the MeWe thing? What is that?
MeWe is like another type of Facebook. It's pretty good. I mean, back in 2018, I switched over to it because I had a feeling they were going to remove my platforms, and so I was already ready. I mean, the hidden things in front of your eyes platform is removed off Facebook, but I had already backed it up on MeWe, and it's spelled just that way. It's MEWE, and you could find me on there. I mean, my group is the hidden things in front of your eyes. I'm on LBRY, but it's spelled LBRY, which is just like YouTube. Same
Okay.
setup, same everything, except for they don't censor anything and don't take anybody's videos down.
Okay. Okay. So I will attach everything below, and then again to remind for those who are buying precious metals, I will put this code PEEPS, so they will get an additional $10, right?
Yeah,
Only
so for those of
200.
you who have are new and never bought from Money Metals, and you're a first-time buyer, you know, and you spend more than $100 on precious metals, use the promo code Pimpy, Pimpy, and you'll get a free half ounce of silver. For those of you who are return buyers, you know, just as a small thank you on already lowered prices, if you spend more than $200, they will take $10 off your order. It's just a small gesture, and it's very
Yeah,
nice of them to do
it's
so.
nice.
So again, just money saved is money earned. That's Benjamin Franklin, but he said a penny saved is a penny earned. So same
Pimpy,
concept.
thank you for your time. God
You're so
bless you,
welcome.
man. Seriously, God bless you.
You as well.
Very much. You're like such a good human being. Okay, let me stop because I will be talking like for 3 hours here.